We're here at Jazz Live with Nnenna Freelon. Nnenna, thank you for being with us tonight.
Thank you for inviting me.
So you're playing tonight here in San Diego with some of the cream of the crop of San Diego guys, and also with the great pianist Mike Garson. Can you tell us a little bit about your history with Mike and the San Diego guys, if you've ever played with them?
Well, the San Diego guys are new, so they're newbies, but they sound so great. I mean, really, just Bob and Duncan are wonderful. And Mike and I go back maybe about 5 or 6 years. We've worked on several projects together, and Mike is just an amazing arranger, pianist, and just an incredible human being, so it's my honor to work with him.
So this is the first of a small little West Coast swing. Where else on the coast are you going to be?
We're going to the Broad Stage in Santa Monica, and we're going to be at Yoshi's up in Oakland, and Santa Cruz to Coomba.
Oh, excellent.
It's a nice venue.
Excellent. Your latest disc is Homefree, released early here in 2010. It consists of 10 covers and 1 original. If having those covers helps you out and kind of breaks the ice with new artists, with new accompanists like this, or does it maybe even hinder things a little bit?
Well, I mean, I don't know if it's either or. The jazz artist lives and dies on the standards. So those tunes that are the bedrock of what we do make it possible for you to play with people you have never laid eyes on before, because it's a common language. But anybody who, you know, a lot of people might not be familiar with my music, I've evolved a kind of non-standard approach to the standards. So they're highly arranged, and just because you may know the title doesn't mean you know which way we're going to go with the tune. So there are some unusual renderings of these tunes, and I really like that, because I think these tunes are great. They're standards for a reason, and they can bear a little interpretation, if you will.
Well, then, on Homefree, how did you put together this compilation of tunes? Were these ones, because there are some, you know, some of the great
diverse,
standards,
right?
yeah, in there. So how did you put them together?
Well, first of all, the concept of home was a wide-ranging concept, not just where you live, but your country, and your identity, and your sense of self, your, you know, things you like, what you like to eat, just all the ways we envision home. So the very thought of you is on the record, because it's a song that really has deep meaning for me. It's a song that I love, but I think also the lyric really speaks to home and feeling at home. America the Beautiful is on it, because I think America can be really beautiful. But also the Cell Phone Blues is on there. That's a tune I wrote, and it's a song that sort of speaks to the way our lives have changed in this modern world, where the cell phone is now this ubiquitous part of our every existence. It's in every room, attached to our very bodies, and we have to kind of deal with that. And it's sort of a tongue-in-cheek goof on, you know, the way cell phones have kind of invaded our space.
Kind of like taking your home with you when you
yeah,
get your phone,
right,
you get your home everywhere. I also kind of picked up on the concept of the standards being kind of home base for, as you were kind of saying, for jazz musicians, and being a place that they may feel comfortable and can relax in a little bit.
Absolutely, and home is, after all, an elastic kind of concept. Really, the most important aspect, I think, of home is being at home in your own skin. You know, and if you're at home with who you are, then every place you happen to be is okay.
How did you approach the recordings? Were there particular arrangements of these that you had done before that you liked, or were you able to do something different with them in the studio, or how did that kind of work?
Some of these arrangements evolved on the road. I've had the same band for 11 years, and so we have been able to develop a band sound, and that comes from years and time and this unique combination of these musicians, their personalities, what they listen to, you know, what their cultural background. I have a bass player who's a Londoner, but his heritage is Jamaican. And I have a guy from Chicago, and Chicago piano players are like none other kinds of animals in the whole planet. I have a wonderful drummer who's from Montgomery, Alabama, living in Atlanta, so infused with all that rhythm and blues and, you know, just so many different influences. A band sound allows you to create in this kind of environment where you can pull on the strengths of those people. If you don't have a history with people, it's really hard, I think, to develop a consistent sound that begins to identify you. So the choices that we made on the arrangements are totally coming out of this unique combination of human beings that I have the honor of working with.
Well, kind of continuing that home theme then, when you were growing up, was music something that was kind of pervasive in your home and as part of your life? Tell us a little bit about how music, how you were exposed to music and early on.
I was born in Boston, Massachusetts, and raised in Cambridge, and there was a lot of music in the home, and I started singing in the church. So my very first exposure to any kind of music was music of a spiritual nature. My father loved jazz music. He loved big band music, really. So people talk about jazz as being so heady and so serious and so esoteric, and I don't even get that, because for me it feels like dance. It feels like daddy. It feels like love. I can remember standing on his feet and dancing around the living room to tunes like 1 O'Clock Jump, and so it has a very home feeling for me.
And did you play an instrument, or were you just
played piano?
You played piano, and then you at some point took a route that didn't take you into music as a profession at the beginning. And can you tell us a little bit about how you made the decision to not go into music? Was there a point in your growing up where you said, "Hey, I could either do this or I could do that," and you made the decision to go into healthcare?
Right. Yeah, I have a degree in hospital administration, and I always loved the hospital environment. I was doing well in school, like a lot of people who have an artistic dream. I wanted to do music, but I was afraid, honestly. I wanted to do something that I could really support myself with, but I was not happy. Something should have told me when I was always in the patient's room singing. Something should have occurred to me that, gee, maybe you should, but whatever. We sometimes follow a path that comes from outside of ourselves. And when I stopped making excuses and stopped sort of, being angry and upset and, just sort of tripping on why I wasn't doing what I was really put on the planet to do, as soon as I accepted that this is what I was supposed to do, things got a lot easier for me. The hard work was still there, but the angst and the feeling something's not quite right, that kind of dissipated. And I'm really grateful. People ask me, "Oh, when did you get your big break?" And they point to Ellis Marsalis when he met me at a Southern Arts Federation conference, or they point to Dave Bailey, who introduced me to George Butler at Columbia Records. But really the big break comes when you give yourself permission to be who you are. Because none of those other things would have ever happened to me if I hadn't said, "You know what? Cut the excuses, Nnenna. Do what you're supposed to do." And I remember my grandmother said something to me. I'm moaning and groaning to her over the phone. "Oh, I don't live in L.A. I don't live in New York. I need to go to school, And I had 3 small children, and I'm married, and I'm living in Durham, North Carolina. And she said to me, "Bloom where you are planted. If God wants you to sing this music, He can figure out a way for you right where you are." And that is exactly what happened.
So you started singing professionally then while you were raising your
your 3 kids.
Yes. You, on this particular disc too, you get to collaborate with your son Pierce,
right?
on this one, on
Yeah.
Lift Every Voice
Lift
and
every
Sing.
voice and sing.
Can you tell us a little bit how that that came together?
So cool. It's just so cool to play with your son, Ski. It was great. And I really wanted to try and bring that song, Lift Every Voice and Sing, which is called the Black National Anthem, which is another aspect for me as a black woman. It's another aspect of home. There's more than one America. And I don't think we really acknowledge enough that there are multiple Americas. And people are having, not everybody's watching the same movie, if you will. And I wanted to bring this song to the consciousness of people who are 20-something, like my son. So re-envisioning this song and using him with his wonderful energy and his wonderful rap vocal that he does on the song was an effort on both of our parts to bring this song back to the ears of young people. Sometimes if something is 4 on the floor, swinging like crazy, it just doesn't touch people of a certain generation. They don't hear it. They identify it as grandma, grandpa's music. And so.
Well, another thing that I wanted to kind of touch on was you've had some fantastic success over your career. Thank goodness you started singing. But nominated for 5 or I thought it was even 6 Grammy Awards. Any idea why you have not hit that top spot yet? I'm sure you get that question.
There are some things that are not under your control, and you do best not to trip about it if you know what's good for you.
Well, this disc did really well, and so
I'm
maybe
a singer.
you're going to get another.
I don't know how it's doing. I'm just out here to sing. Let others worry about how things are doing.
Well, I wanted to touch on a little bit on the mission of Jazz 88 here, which is a public radio station dedicated to jazz and playing jazz. And as an artist in this genre, I would like to get your feelings on how public radio and stations like Jazz 88, how they help to keep the music going as far as your eyes are concerned.
Well, you know, if you look at places to hear this music, they are shrinking. And the real sad part about it for me is that the diversity of listening options are shrinking. And that's not, so you guys are holding up a very valuable, not even, I can't even say public service, you're providing an artistic and cultural service. When things shrink to only a few options, it just changes the whole culture. And that is not a good thing. First of all, because it's not real. The world is not just one thing. The world is a lot of different things. And it also sort of dumbs down our curiosity. If you think you already know all the great music that's out there, then, you know, you're not even curious to, gee, I wonder who was that, you know. And so in providing an opportunity for people, even if it's happenstance, to come across on the airwaves something that they have not heard before, that is a very good thing.
Well, Nnenna, can you let folks know where they can find out more information about you and get connected?
Well, if they want to get connected to Nnenna Freelon, they can go to www.nnenna.com. That's 4 N's, 1 E, 1 A. One day I'll buy a vowel.
Well, thank you very much for coming, and best of luck. Hopefully we'll get that notch, that Grammy notch too, coming up. And thank you again for coming to Jazz Live San Diego.
Thank you for inviting me.
Great. Nnenna, while you're in the chair, I just want to get